Hey guys, so it's Thursday and that means that the big truck came today and the bulk of our squash left. So I thought I would give you a tour of our packing house while it's not sitting full of squash. Our cooler's empty and I can kind of show you how everything works around here. Out here in front is where we stack all of our harvest bins. We are in mid-October now, so they are a little worse for the wear. They've been beat on, loaded and unloaded from trailers hundreds of times, and they've had a pretty hard life this summer. Up here is where we built the mezzanine in our packing house when we were putting the addition on, and it works out really nice. We keep all of our boxes up there to store them. Over here, this is our dump tank, and I bought this secondhand and reworked it a little bit, and basically the trailer gets unloaded out here. After the squash is picked, it comes to the packing house, trailer gets unloaded, the squash comes in here and it goes into the dump tank. They call it a dump tank because typically you have a bin dumper that will dump an entire bin into the tank, which we will have next year, but we don't have this year. But the water level will be about right here, and I'm gonna make a washing and packing video here very soon, but I'll show you how all this works. But this is our wash line. It's a 36-inch, came from Market Farm in Pennsylvania. It's made by Produce Packing Machinery. The squash comes up this belt with cogs on it, and then it comes down here. I built this little stainless flapper because the squash would bounce all the way off of the belt before we added this on. But this belt's turning, then the squash go in here onto these brushes where they get sprayed with water and a sanitizing solution. Right here is the chemilizer, and what that does is we have a solution of Sanidate, which is a food sanitizing solution, and this chemilizer is what this blue thing up here is called. The water flows through it, and it pumps the Sanidate solution and blends it with our water supply, which is then sprayed out of these nozzles onto the squash as they're being rolled on these brushes. This particular packing line, we ordered it this way. It has a top brush that turns the opposite direction, and it does a pretty good job. These are Latex Rollers, and they absorb the water off of the squash and semi-dry them. They don't do a great job, but they do all right. Then it comes out onto the conveyor here where we grade, pick out all the bad, and we also put the POU labels like you see in the grocery store. Then it comes off the conveyor onto the round table where we've got guys that will be standing around the round table packing into boxes and weighing the boxes out. The dump tank is got a bunch of leaves in it right now, but it has a pump down here that pulls water out of that outlet right there, or inlet, and then blows it out of these little holes in the back. But this conveyor belt is what brings the squash out of the tank. They run out onto this belt, and and they just sit here and roll on these brushes and get scrubbed while they're being sprayed with a mist of water and Sanidate. And that's the chemilizer, and this is our bucket of sanitizer. There's the top brush turning in the opposite direction. Then they come out onto the latex donuts, they call them, which absorbs some of the water off of them, and onto the conveyor belt. We've got a variable speed conveyor that works out really nice. You can turn it down where it's just barely moving, which is pretty important when we're putting POU stickers on. You kind of need the squash to be coming by pretty slow so that you can sticker them. And then they go onto this round table. And if you're not familiar with a round table, it plugs up and rotates because we need to be able to blend stuff that's not perfect with stuff that is perfect, and different size squash, so you don't end up with being full of all 5-pounders or all 3-pounders. So yeah, that's pretty much the way our packing house works. These are freezers for our pork that we raise. They're actually going to go in the store, but we're in the midst of working on the store right now, so we've got them sitting out here for the time being. But so this is our cooler that we built last year. It is 14 by 28 cooler. We actually built it ourselves. My dad had some freezer panels that I was able to get off of him, and we poured concrete. I bent some galvanized channels for the freezer panels to sit in, and I actually built this door, the whole nine. These are used panels, so they're not perfect, and they're not all the same color on the inside, which does not matter a bit. These pallets of squash in here could care less. But it works out pretty good. It is 53 degrees in here, 70% humidity, and it is cooled by a CoolBot. And if you're not familiar with a CoolBot, it is one of the best inventions ever for a small produce farmer or florist. If you like to deer hunt, they're great for a lot of things, and they are very cost effective, much cheaper than a refrigeration unit, and they operate for pennies on the dollar compared to a refrigeration unit. What it is, it takes a really large air conditioning unit and turns it into a cooler. I believe they recommend LG. It's the reason we bought an LG, but this is an LG 10,000 BTU air conditioning unit, and you set it on 60 degrees, and this CoolBot basically has a heating element that sticks into the thermostatic control. The air conditioning unit has to be digital, but basically this is a separate thermostat that warms up the thermostat in this air conditioning unit, and it's got another sensor that senses if the AC unit is freezing up, so that it can cause it to cycle just like a refrigeration unit would do. They cost about 400 bucks, and they work great. It's 50 degrees in here, and it's doing a really good job. It's been running non-stop for 3 years now. Well, it doesn't run in the winter, but it runs from the time we start picking strawberries in April until the time we finish picking squash after Halloween. It runs non-stop, and thus far it's given us 0 problems. This little room that I'm standing in is actually a milk truck bed. This was our very first cooler on this farm. The second year that we started wholesaling produce, we bought this milk truck bed, and we actually set it up here first. You can see that the mess is still completely intact. But this drive-in cooler is half the size of our original packing house. And we just bought this milk truck body, set it out here. We built a 24 by 28 shed in front of it. Bought this cool bot and this air conditioning unit so that we had a, I don't know, what is this thing, 16 by 8 feet cooler, and we thought we were really doing it. We were pumped to have what we did. The very first year, we ran out of space. It just was not enough. So the second year, we poured the floor in our packing house. We built this 14 by 28 cooler, and we just connected it to the milk truck through the door open, and it does a really good job of cooling the whole thing. Squash don't need to be as cold as other things, so when we've got this full of 21 pallets of squash, tomatoes, cucumbers, things of that nature, still go into the milk truck body, and we're able to access it through a different door in the back, and it's working out really good for us. So that is pretty much the tour of our packing house. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments, and I'll be happy to try to answer them. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy what we're doing here. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time.